And you didn't mention that today when you were talking about that Ring camera, did you?
I did not.
And did they also tell you there were 3 other people in the car?
Yes.
So the preliminary hearings for Tyler Robinson started last week. That's the alleged Charlie Kirk assassin. And, I've seen all sorts of people on the ride out. I saw Glenn Beck and some other people, and they're like, oh, it's clear as day. This is it. This is the killer. Everybody that's been amping this up, the conspiracy theorist and people that are just asking questions. They've been trying to be really condescending towards them. And they're obviously talking about people like Candace Owens that have been doing a lot of alternative coverage in relation to the Charlie Kirk assassination investigation. Well, somebody else that's been doing a really good job of that is Baron Coleman. And Baron Coleman went on Clint Russell's podcast, Liberty Lockdown, last week, and they were talking about some of the things that came out in the trial. And this was one of the things that I found to be most interesting.
There were a couple of items that to me were so massive. I'm surprised they're not getting more play. And it is, they have a really grainy footage taken about 12:30 in the morning and again about 1:15 in the morning of a Dodge Challenger pulling up in front of a Ring doorbell camera. We've been told that was Tyler Robinson. We were told on the arrest affidavit it was Tyler Robinson. We were told in the search warrants it was Tyler Robinson. We're now told the homeowner who recorded the footage signed a letter with the footage that says the car was driven by a bald man and that there were 3 passengers in the car with him.
And do you remember that the Nobles told you that the driver of the vehicle was bald?
I do remember that being in the report, yes.
And you didn't mention that today when you were talking about that Ring camera, did you?
I did not.
And did they also tell you there were 3 other people in the car?
Yes, I believe they thought that was the case.
Okay.
That's not Tyler Robinson. Now, either the homeowner is wrong, and that's certainly possible, but I think that should have been disclosed publicly. If you're not going to call her as a witness, and they don't seem to have any intention to call her as a witness, it's deeply deceptive. It's incredibly misleading. It's bad faith all over the place. And the judge seems at that point today to have sort of turned, and his attitude has soured quite a bit. So I think that's the biggest bombshell of the day is the homeowner who recorded the Ring doorbell footage believes a bald man drove the car and that there were 3 passengers.
That's revelatory if they're correct, of course.
So that was Baron Coleman on Clint Russell's Liberty Lockdown podcast, and they were reviewing the testimony from David Hull, who's from the Utah State Bureau of Investigators. And I've seen other people that are using David Hull's testimony, like I saw it on Glenn Beck, seen it on Fox News. I've seen other coverage, but they're only showing the footage from Tyler Robinson on UVU's campus that morning. I haven't seen very many people showing the Ring doorbell coverage. I haven't seen people showing the testimony where he's admitting to witnesses saying that there was a bald man or multiple people in the vehicle. And that's important because if there were multiple people involved, more than just Tyler Robinson, then that implicates a larger conspiracy. That implicates more people. And that's what we should be trying to get to the bottom of, to just exactly what happened. Because the mainstream narrative that Tyler Robinson was the lone shooter and acted alone, that doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying that Tyler Robinson wasn't involved. I do believe that he was involved to some capacity. To what he did, I don't know. But I think there's some type of larger conspiracy at play here. And let's stick to what the mainstream is telling you about Tyler Robinson. Let's say that it is some just trans Antifa thing. Well, if there's more people involved, then maybe it's a Antifa conspiracy and we need to try to get to the bottom of that. Or let's say that what Candace Owens is, and Candace Owens hasn't directly said this. She's definitely leaned towards this and made some claims that people could say would construe that she's assuming that Israel did this. But let's just say that she's right. Let's say that Israel did it. I mean, they've definitely created motive, with the fact that Charlie Kirk was receiving so much funding from Zionist donors. And then if his stance is shifting away from being pro-Israel, pro-Zionist, then okay, you could see that. Or maybe you had people within the Zionist movement that were agents of another government or some other organization. Let's say Bill Ackman. They're like, everybody brings up the Hamptons meeting where Bill Ackman was there and things got pretty heated between Charlie and some of the other people. What if Bill Ackman worked for another organization and he said, hey, we could potentially make it look like Israel was responsible for this, and that will create turmoil within the United States? Because you got to consider, like, there are other governments that are definitely trying to influence politics in our country, not just Israel. I mean, could be Russia, could be China, could be Ukraine. The thing is, we don't know. And anybody that's telling you that with absolute certainty that this is exactly what happened with the Charlie Kirk assassination, they don't know. Everybody's speculating. I mean, we can look at it and say that a lot of stuff is weird, and you should. When you look at the murder scene being completely paved over within a week, and the guy that did the job, he says he got the call on a Sunday morning to come in and do some emergency paving work. And allegedly that order came from the governor of Utah and the FBI that they wanted it, they dug up 10 inches of soil and then paved over it within the week. Or the vehicle that Charlie Kirk was transported in after the shooting was immediately scrubbed down and it was sold. It was either sold or auctioned off. But either way, seems like that would have been, more thoroughly investigated. Or when they looked at Lance Twiggs's phone, they didn't just, take the entire phone into evidence. They took photos of the text off the phone. Doesn't make sense. And the whole narrative about the rifle itself, everybody's seen what a 30-06 would do if somebody was shot in the throat with a 30-06. It probably would have taken his head clean off. So a lot of things don't add up. Or that Tyler Robinson allegedly broke down the rifle with a screwdriver, left the screwdriver on the roof, fled the scene, then reassembled the rifle and wrapped it in a towel and left it there. The same rifle that the FBI held in their custody, even when the case had been turned back over to the state of Utah. So again, these things just don't add up. And the real problem with all of this, and the real reason that conspiracy theories are flourishing, is because the media and our government has lost all credibility. This is what happens when you don't act in good faith and you lie to people for decades about everything, about wars, about assassinations, about drugs, about coups, about all of the things that our government is doing. And that's how we've ended up where we're at now. And that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. Maybe it was Israel. Maybe it was just Tyler Robinson. We don't know. But when people get weird and aggressive because you're asking questions or just trying to say, like, hey, like, maybe there's more going on here, you shouldn't be attacked for that. So I don't know. This trial is going to be very important. Everybody needs to pay attention, but don't just pay attention to the mainstream media and don't just pay attention to your, you got to listen to them all. Listen to all, follow none. Listen to Candace Owens, listen to Baron Coleman, listen to Clint Russell. Listen to all these people and still watch Fox News, because you need to know what the mainstream narrative is saying. You need to know what spin they're putting on it. You need to know as much information as you can get. So, but at the end of the day, if this is true that there were multiple people in the vehicle with them, it completely blows up the story that it was Tyler Robinson acting alone. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment.